speaking about shutting it down, unfortunately, we gotta talk about the Miami Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa was injured. He was out for the rest of the game due to a concussion. The Buffalo Bills won hands down. Guys, I'm concerned with Tua. Now, you could have been, one could argue you could have been concerned about Tua a long time before because coming out of college, he had durability issues. And hold on, real quick, my man Jay Bailey, he said, before I go to work, I have to give PSP credit about Baker Mayfield. You've been right about him. Hope you're wrong about Caleb, though. No, I'm not wrong about Caleb yet. It's just one bad game. No, mere bag of shells. But shout out to Champ. He was the one who actually convinced me on about Baker Mayfield, and we'll get into that in just a second on the PSP show. But appreciate that, Jay Bailey. But Tua Tagovailoa, guys, 3 concussions in Miami. Look, Brian Flores, it was reported that he did not want Tua Tagovailoa. He wanted Justin Herbert. The Miami Dolphins, they already gave Tua Tagovailoa his contract 4-year, $212 million, over $100 million guaranteed. I hate to ask this question. Should they shut down Tua? Champ, you go first.
NFL, Miami Dolphins, do the right thing, man. Do not put that young man back on that field. And, PSP, credit to you, sent me an article earlier today, right before we went on the air. If they medically discharge, I'm thinking about something else. If they medically retire him, he can still collect that $124 million bonus. If he opts to retire, then he forgoes it. Look, Dolphins, and look, Mr. Ross, Stephen Ross, you just sold 50%, 15% of that team. So you just made $300-something million. So do the right thing, medically retire Tua, and guess what? NFL, step in and do something. Hey, if you got to give them a few compensation picks for them losing him for an injury, have at it. But the thing is, Miami Dolphins, do the right thing. Do not trot that young man back on that field anymore. It's time to go get another quarterback. And I hate to say this, but there were many questions even before you gave him that contract of how durable he was going to be in the first place. The signs were there, but now we're here. So the thing is, do not trot that young man back on the field another play. Just read another article that says he's going to be out for at least 6 to 8 weeks. So don't trot that young man back on that field. Medically retire him because if you don't medically retire him, the only thing that's going to be on that mind is that money. He's going to go back out there, and this time we can see something even worse happen, something we haven't seen in years. We already saw how frightened the public was with the Damar Hamlin situation. Let's not put our children and people who watch through that again. And that was just something on a freak accident. That's just something that occurred with his vitally organs.
Yeah, it wasn't a brutal hit.
Yeah, it wasn't a brutal hit. So it's just something that occurred with his heart. He had a heart attack. But the thing is, don't put that young man's family through that. Don't put him through that. Sometimes when we're in our youth, we're not smart enough to know what's good for us. And what's good for Tua is for the Miami Dolphins and the NFL to medically retire him, pay that $120 million out in increments. If you got to pay him $11 million a year for the rest of his life till that contract is over with, then do that and start trying to find you another quarterback moving forward. Because not only are you in danger, you're in danger of 2 things right now, Miami. If you trot him back on that field. Well, 3 things. You're in danger of ruining and jeopardizing a life, number 1, not just a career. You're in danger of, putting this back. You're in danger of putting a black eye on the NFL, number 2. And number 3, you're in danger of doing something that you've been known for since Dan Marino left. You had a defense earlier in 2000 and some great offensive players. You just didn't have a quarterback, and you wasted that team under Dave Warnstead. You had Ricky Williams, you had Chris Chambers, you had Randy McMichael on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, you had Jason Taylor, you had Agulier,
Zach Thomas.
You had Zach Thomas, you had Junior Seau, you had Channing Crowder, you had one of the best secondaries that money could buy in Patrick Surtain Sr., Sam Madison, and Brock Marion. You had that, and that team was wasted. So you're on the verge of not only, jeopardizing a life, putting another black eye in the NFL, but you're in danger of wasting another potential good team. Because this team has some weapons. This team, if you was to put the right person in this system that was durable, then guess what? You will be in Super Bowl contention every year. But as far as Tua is concerned, do the right thing. Don't trot that young man back on that field just because you don't want to pay out some money. Medically discharge that young man and let him have his life for the rest of his life. I mean, do what the great Eddie DeBartolo would do, the former owner of the San Francisco 49ers. Do what he did for Will Fuller. Remember back in the 80s when Will Fuller made that tackle and had nerve damage in his arm and lost the use of his right arm for the rest of his life. He didn't try them back on that field. He set up an annuity and paid that young man for the rest of his life, even though he was up under no obligation in order to do that. So do something like that. Pay that man his money. You knew he had durability issues before you even paid him. But now that we're here, medically discharge him, so he would never even attempt to make a comeback. That's my thing. You pay him out, you medically discharge him, he would never even attempt to try to make a comeback because he won't have to worry about money issues for the rest of his life. Either that or give him a position in the front office, something, with the team or the staff, or, restructured, something like that.
Like a coach or
something.
But
the thing, yeah. But don't trot that young man back on that field. We've seen him literally have 3 seizures on that field. We saw it. And then I don't have to be a neurologist to understand what a seizure is. We saw it. So don't put there's too many black eyes on this team, on the NFL as it is, in order to do that. And I see the comment saying, protect yourself. But the thing is, look, you're not thinking about that in the moment to protect yourself when you're in a football game. As a former athlete myself, amateur boxer, martial artist, you're not thinking about that in the game. You're thinking about how can I help my team win at this moment. You're not thinking about, hey, man, what if I have this? What if this happens? If you're thinking like that, you're not going to succeed. I'm sorry. You're not going to be thinking like that when you're in the heat of the moment and you're trying to win football games or win a fight or win a basketball game. You're not thinking, let me protect myself. You're thinking about, I got to show my teammates and myself that we can go out here and we can win football games. So guess what? Hey, and the first thing you're thinking about, hey, you're thinking about everything. They just gave me all this money. They just invested a lot in me. Hey, I got people that I know I have to take care of. You're thinking about all of that. So the last thing you're thinking about when you're on that field is, hey, let me protect myself. You're thinking about trying to win a football game and show you got some guts out there. You're the quarterback. And the thing is, you can protect yourself too much and get criticized. Look what happened with Cam during the Super Bowl. Rest my case.
Well said, Undisputed World Champion. Shout out to my man, Big Ox Media. Go check him out on Player's Choice. Does a great job, with the basketball content and so much more. He said, I'm really concerned for Tua. Hope he stays home. He also had some other comments. He said, it's ironic that it was Hamlin that tackled him. The hit wasn't really violent, but he definitely needs to learn to slide and protect from himself. That was the comments that you made, champ. Brendan from the block, Big Ox, and Big Ox Media. By the way, Big Ox, we're gonna try to see what we can do to get you on the Sports PSP pod. Definitely can. But BRF, what were your thoughts about last night's game, and what were your thoughts about Tua's injury?
That scared the hell out of me. That scared the hell out of me. Cause like the hit itself wasn't a violent shot, but it was the contact. And what scared me was the shock and the trauma his body went through after he hit the ground. Because his right arm, that scared me. When I saw his right arm, I was like, yeah, they gotta sit him. They have to sit him. They need to do what's right. They need to do what's best. They need to look out for his career. They need to sit him. If at the very least, they need to at least sit him for the rest of the season. And really, they need to look at you know medically like what Champ said. They need to seriously consider medically retiring that man and giving him his money because because I think because I believe because Champ in our IG chat actually pointed it out. If he stops playing, but it's like not being forced, he won't get that money. So they need to do right by him. And I mean I'm basically echoing what Champ said because he's right on the money with this. The NFL needs to seriously, the players union, players association, they need to look out for him. Cause that man's got that he's still got way too long a life to live. He's still got way too much of a future that he can do for family, giving back to community, just stuff that doesn't necessarily have to be football, but just something to make his life mean something in the eyes of the people that mean most to him, which is his family. They need to seriously consider sitting him. They need to seriously consider medically retiring him and give that man his money. Look, I get it. Y'all drafted him to be the future face of the franchise. I get that. And he's coming off his best season as a pro. But he's also coming off concussion after concussion, and he just suffered another concussion. And the reaction after that concussion, when you saw him go down and that right arm stiffened, that scared me. That was like Ryan Shazer scaring me. It was that serious. They need to, yeah. And honestly, if I'm him, and the egos of these athletes. You know how they're made. You know how they're wired. He's going to want to play if he gets the clearance. But if I'm the NFL and if I'm the Miami Dolphins, I'm after this 6 to 8 week stretch that he's like gonna be out for. I seriously sit him down and have a nice long conversation about possibly I get you want to play. We understand your life and your health is more important than this game. If you want your money, we'll give you your money. We don't want you to risk it anymore. I wouldn't be this adamant about it if it wasn't for the reaction his body went through after that hit, because that was not a hard hit. But when you because the thing is, the more that happens, if he keeps playing, the more that happens, the worse, more than likely, those reactions are going to get for who knows what could happen on the next one. They need to seriously consider putting a medically retired label on him and giving him his money and letting him live his life. And if I'm Tua, I'm seriously thinking about it. I'm seriously like thinking about what's best for me and my family at this point. You can't keep going out having concussions like this and thinking you're going to get a long life out of this, or a long healthy life at that out of this. He still has too much. He still has too long of a life to live to let football to let exactly. He's 26 years old. He's 26 years old. He's still got way too much life to worry about as far as like letting the game like football. This is a kid's game still at the end of the day. Worry about you, worry about your family. Now I feel like if I'm him, this is the time to really look into protecting myself, and the NFL and the Miami Dolphins organization needs to protect him as well. They need to seriously consider sitting him down and medically retiring him. I'm with Champ. I echo everything Champ says.
Yeah, I mean, no one can disagree with what Champ said, man. I mean, as much as I would love to see Tua play on the field, but at the same time, considering his durability history, is it really worth it? You know, you've had 3 concussions with the Miami Dolphins. You had a concussion at the University of Alabama. Big Ox said, no way I give him all that money to not play, especially since he won't slide to protect himself. $20 million severance package seems about right. But my thing is, look, with Tua, I mentioned he's 26 years old. He's now a father. He has a kid. He has so much to look forward to in life. And the last thing you want to hear is something horrible happening to him mentally, physically. I would have to seriously consider retiring if I'm Tua, because how much more punishment could I honestly take? And if I'm Miami, although I gave him all this money, you're going to have to start fresh and you're going to have to draft yourself another quarterback. You're probably not going to get a top tier quarterback, but is it really worth putting Tua's life on the line? And Tua may not want to do that because, again, the competitor, the athlete in him, champ, you would know that. You've mentioned yourself, you're an amateur athlete. But at the same time, do you really want to suffer? Do you really want not only you to suffer, but do you also want your family, your friends, people, loved ones around you as well? Because they want you to be around as long as you can. So Tua and the Miami Dolphins, they have a lot to consider. And it's really unfortunate because it wasn't even that much of a brutal hit. But the moment he went down, he was laying down. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. I'm gonna just be real. Hey, look, what's the baseball player's name that they call him Bonita? Is that his name?
Bobby
Bonilla,
Bonilla.
I think.
Bobby Bonilla. Hey,
Bobby
do it
Bonilla.
Bobby Bonilla. Miami, do it like that. Work in the look. And the thing is, look, don't trot that young man back out there. Miami, you have enough black eyes on your resume to paint my house